Welcome to the Still Curtain podcast, powered by stillcurtain.com. It is Sunday, January 4th for about 19 more minutes, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are AFC North champions after a 26-24 win over the Baltimore Ravens at Acrisure Stadium, finishing the season 10-7. The Steelers will host the Houston Texans on Monday night in the wild card round of the AFC playoffs. And I did not think in a game for a division title on the line between a four-time NFL MVP, one-time Super Bowl champion quarterback, potentially in his swan song, and a two-time MVP quarterback on the other side, a Hall of Fame running back, that we would open talking about kickers. But boy, do we have to open talking about kickers when Chris Boswell hit the 50-something yard field goal in the first half to cut the Ravens lead from 10-0 to 10-3. I had an immediate thought of, man, where would the Steelers be over the last 7 or so years, this playoff drought since 2016, if they didn't have Boswell on the team? Because Boswell has been absolute nails, second to probably Justin Tucker as the best kicker of the era. Justin Tucker now not with the Baltimore Ravens anymore. And even like you think of that 2020 season, so many game-winning kicks, like Boswell has been so foundational to their success, winning close games, and winning close games is the entire thing that Mike Tomlin wants to do. And then Chris Boswell goes and misses an extra point that would have made a field goal just tied at the end of the game. A field goal then would have won it for the Ravens. And then the Ravens got into field goal range. And they got the kick for Tyler Loop, not Justin Tucker, no longer with the Ravens for reasons we won't go into. And Tyler Loop misses it. The Steelers hang on after Isaiah Likely, the tight end who caught the touchdown, not touchdown. He is now Baltimore's Jesse James in this, if you will, against Pittsburgh. That was, he did not make a football move, did not complete the catch. He makes an unbelievable grab on that, what would have been a game-winning drive had Tyler Loop hit that kick to put the Ravens into field goal range. And it was not to be for Baltimore in an absolutely cursed season for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson injuries, issues after issues, starting 1-5, fighting all the way back to it. The Steelers essentially put the division on a platter for the Ravens. They give up a touchdown to Calvin Austin on a slip from Chidobe Awuzie on Rodgers' final touchdown pass of the regular season, which could be the final regular season touchdown pass of his career. We'll see how the playoffs go. We'll see how everything plays out from this point forward. But man, like an absolutely cursed season. A lot to take away from this for the Steelers, being able to muster something offensively, particularly after the Ravens lose Kyle Hamilton to a concussion. So certainly fortunate break for the Steelers, but they were able to figure something out in really tight spot, especially in the second half. Offensively, I thought Rodgers was good. He was it was a roller coaster of a performance from Rodgers, maybe what you'd expect from a 42-year-old quarterback at this point in his career in the biggest game of the season. He had some absolutely fantastic throws. Think the throw to Adam Thielen, right? Think the completion to Freiermuth that set up the Gainwell touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Just so much to take away from this, but then also in-helmet communication issues for Rodgers. He has to blow all the Steelers timeouts, which adds to the tension of that last drive because the Steelers can't stop the clock when the Ravens are moving down the field. When they get an excellent kick return, like back to the kickers, the Ravens had been terrible on kick returns all night. The Steelers have been kind of whooping them fairly soundly in the third phase of the game. Like if you think special teams, I think, Jordan Stout had a good game, their punter. But other than that, the Ravens special teams was pretty lackluster. And that includes kick returns until Keaton Mitchell busts that one to put the Ravens on the brink of field goal range. Ultimately, they got there. As I'm just, spewing some of these thoughts from late game, I thought the Steelers had some really interesting pressure packages in this one, including as Collinsworth broke down. And I got so excited when I saw it. And I'm sure we'll talk about it when Shayne Kubas joins the show. So much written content. I'm sure he's contributing to that on stillcurtain.com. Go check that out as you watch this here or afterwards tomorrow, whatever. I thought, because D Winston 68 in the chat says mediocre might, I imagine he means mediocre Mike Tomlin just bought himself another year. Yes, he did. And that's the crux of this, right? Because coming into tonight, I had a feeling of there are two terrible things that could happen: the Steelers losing this game and the Steelers winning this game. And they won the game, and it was a whole hell of a lot of fun. And maybe we'll get into all of those machinations as we go further on in this show. Shayne Kubas, Mark Powell joining us. Mark Powell was at the game tonight, so we'll have a report from the environment down there at Acrisure Stadium, what everything was. I just heard fireworks out my window here. I'm in Mount Lebanon, so not even downtown. That felt like a big game. That's kind of where I'll slow things down a little bit. Like, that felt like a big game. And you can say in the chat if you feel the same way. Going into it, I don't know if I felt that way. I just had a lot of doom and gloom in my head of just, oh, this is going to be the playoff game last year. And to the Steelers' credit, like, it absolutely was not. They got run over completely last year in that playoff game. That game informed a lot of what they did in the offseason this year in the draft, taking Derek Harmon, signing Malik Harrison to add to that run defense, trying to beef up Jack Sawyer on the edge, who's like a really run-first edge defender, right? You draft Y.A. Black, just adding resources to that defensive line, trying to beef things up after you gave up nearly 300 yards on the ground to the Ravens in a win-or-go-home game last season. You turn it around a year later, and this team is flawed. This is a flawed team. We can talk about what the playoff run is going to look like. Nat Attack, love in the chat, very fired up, feeling a little hopeful. We can get to our hopes and dreams about that game. DK Metcalf will be back for it. But coming into it, felt like maybe a lot of doom and gloom, and in a lot of ways, they kind of flipped the script after a really bad start. And yes, mediocre Mike and all the jokes, but this team did not go out, just laying over. Last year, they just rolled over late in that season, the losing streak down the stretch. You can credit a lot of that, some of that, however much you want, to Aaron Rodgers. I think he definitely deserves credit. One, he's just a whole hell of a lot better than Russell Wilson was at any point last season, but especially the end of the season. And I thought he was just precise on a lot of stuff tonight, like screens and swing passes and setting his guys up for yards after the catch. Like, not a ton downfield, but that receiver group, there are so many college receiver groups that are markedly better than the group of pass catchers that Aaron Rodgers was throwing to tonight. No DK Metcalf, no Darnell Washington. And you're able to just find stuff. Not attacking the chat again. We looked like we actually had a plan. Yeah, it did. It was a very interesting plan. On all the differences, right? From last year's playoff game, you beef up the defensive line. And you're playing this now. I'll get back to the offense in a second, but defensively, you're playing this 5 down front, 3-4 base stuff. And I thought it gave Lamar a lot of issues, because my concern coming into it with this 3-4 base, what they were doing a lot to get pressure was dropping their edges out, the Steelers, and bringing pressure up the A-gap with Patrick Queen. They did it with Nick Herbig a lot tonight, which puts a lot of pressure, like simulated pressures. Maybe you're still bringing 4 or just 5, but it just puts pressure on that offensive line to communicate. And on Herbig's sack early in the first half, when he came up the A-gap, both edges, Highsmith and Watt, dropped out. You only sent 4, but you got Herbig one-on-one with a running back. You blew him up, got a sack. They're doing a lot of that stuff. And my concern coming in was, can you live that way against Lamar? Right? Because he's such a good scrambler, such a good runner. He creates so much back there. And we saw what he did when he was able to split Highsmith and Benton and throw the bomb to Zay Flowers, which I thought was going to be like the play of the game. I thought I was going to open this pod tonight talking about that play and how It's a bummer you end up with Patrick Queen one-on-one just chasing Zay Flowers down the field. But the play worked, right? You got Highsmith as a free runner. You got Stanley to miscommunicate. He went inside for some reason. Free run at the quarterback. The Steelers did a lot of that stuff. Like, they got pretty exotic with their pressure packages tonight on the defensive side of the ball, and we don't always see that from Tomlin and Terrell Austin. A lot of times when they want to get pressure, okay, now we're bringing 5, and then we'll bring 6. If we can't get pressure, maybe we'll bring 7 and play 0. Like, that is kind of the plan. Now that they've gotten back to more of the old school 3-4 stuff, I think they're a little more comfortable dropping the outside linebackers, getting a little more simulated pressure, exotic stunts. And I love that creativity. I thought it gave Lamar a lot of problems in this game. And you could tell early on, John Harbaugh did not want to put this game on Lamar's shoulders. He wanted to put it on Derrick Henry's shoulders like he did last year in the playoff game, drawing those parallels again. And Henry rips off a big run on the first play. There's a phantom illegal blindside block called on Zay Flowers, blocking Pierre. It was not a good call. It comes back 15 yards, but it's still a big game. The Ravens go down and score. It felt like, okay, this thing's going to get ugly. And it didn't, because of the defensive adjustments the Steelers have made throughout the season. Like, they have morphed so much on that side of the ball. Ramsey started the year as a corner. You had Ramsey and Slay as like your ideal lockdown corners, and Joey Porter Jr., and you're going to play a lot of man and blitz heavy stuff. And then you morph into Ramsey goes to safety. You play a lot more zone and shell coverage stuff, but you're not getting pressure and you're not stopping the run. So now you're a 5 down front team. You're a base 3-4 team. That worked really well against Derrick Henry. I know he was fairly effective tonight. Like, we can look at the final numbers, 20 carries for 126. But the way he started, man, they bottled him up really well after that. And I think that's a credit to this coaching staff. Like, I've been really critical of Mike Tomlin, and there is a part of me, I will admit, wearing as much yellow as a person possibly could right now, Steelers gold, I guess, as a Steelers fan, that wanted them to just lose this game and it be ugly and we could finally move on from Mike Tomlin and like move in a different direction and not have to worry about Rodgers coming back and running this back next year. That was fun to win that game, and it was fun to win that game because the Steelers were doing some interesting stuff on both sides of the ball. And again, the parallels to that game last year. Offensively, that Steelers offense by the end of the year with Russell Wilson, they could not run the ball. Wilson did not like going under center, so they really couldn't get any of that outside zone stuff going. And they were just relying on deep balls, and if you didn't hit deep balls, you were screwed. You couldn't attack the middle of the field. The Ravens had some safety issues. They kind of rectified them last year. They definitely had them once Kyle Hamilton went out in this one, and that's going to be a footnote, but it feels very important because the Steelers moved the ball way better once Kyle Hamilton was out of the game. And of course, he's one of the best defensive players in the NFL. He's such a skeleton key for that defense, the way they can bring him around the line of scrimmage, use him in stunts and blitzes and as just this big bodied like Derwin James type. But then he can also play over the top and be like an Ed Reed type. Like, he can really do it all. He can also be a nickel corner. And you lose him, the Steelers go right after it. Completion to Freiermuth. They had a lot more success over the middle of the field. Not a ton, because they're just not going to have a lot of success throwing the ball tonight. And I would be interested to see what Rodgers' average up at the target was. I can't imagine his ADOT was even over 5. They had a couple deep balls, the deep ball to Austin, right? But everything was around the line of scrimmage. But to what Nat Attack said in the chat, the Steelers looked like they actually had a plan. I actually think they did, right? They said, I don't think the Baltimore secondary can tackle well enough. We're going to throw a lot of screens, a ton of swings. We're going to give Rodgers a lot of autonomy at the line of scrimmage to just get the ball out of his hands. He was not comfortable against pressure last week. The Ravens don't have a pass rush, so he's going to be a little more comfortable. And I think you saw that as the game progressed. He took a few more chances downfield. The completion to Thielen, the completion to Freiermuth. You had a bit more verticality, and a lot of that came from Freiermuth. Which was nice to see him come through in a big moment, considering the season he's had that's been a little spotty, right? It hasn't been, this is a guy who's 600 yards a year, 60 catches, 600 yards. That's what you think of for Freiermuth. And this year he kind of gotten lost in the shuffle of all the tight ends. you saw what he can do on seams and benders and contested catches and like why he's a really useful tight end tonight, especially once Hamilton went out. So it seemed like they had that plan of we're going to throw everything to the sidelines, everything behind the line of scrimmage, make them tackle, bring their safeties up, bring their safeties wide, try to open the middle of the field, and then we'll hit them there. And credit to Rodgers for executing that plan. That plan doesn't work if you don't have a quarterback who's just super accurate on all of those short throws. And for everything Rodgers is and isn't at this point is in his career, I think he's been excellent with that type of stuff this year. And it's one of the reasons this offense, as weird as it is, as weird as this team is with Kenneth Gainwell as its MVP, like that's just bizarre. Rodgers being so accurate on all of that stuff and setting up his receivers for yards after the catch is one of the reasons that this offense has kept its head above water all year. One of the main reasons. Also, Gainwell and Warren like doing stuff with those touches is another. And I thought they were fantastic. So to like this year versus last year, the playoff game versus this matchup, the teams are different, right? Like the Ravens just don't really have a pass rush this year. That's a huge difference. I thought that the offensive line for the Steelers was a lot better in this one than it was last season, definitely. And that's a huge difference. So like there are all these different things, but it did feel like just a more cohesive game plan, a better understanding of who you are, what you need to do. I think the second week is a little bit twofold. Like I think it's the second week without DK. You're certainly more comfortable with what you have to do to move the ball, the limitations you have. You're not going to be forcing it to MVS as often. You just have to kind of take your medicine that we're going to get the ball to Kenny G. We're going to get the ball to Jaylen Warren. And that I think that worked out pretty well. Like it's a weird game. It definitely got funky at the end. It was funky the whole way. It's a Steelers Ravens game, but it got really funky at the end. But man, this team was like pretty up for it. I don't know. I also come away from it feeling like this still isn't a great team. And I feel like Tomlin thinks that too, maybe shares that opinion. As Nat Attack in the chat asks, do you agree with the decision to go for it on fourth down to close the first half? And I thought maybe we would talk about a different fourth down decision as Shayne Kubas of Steel Curtain joins us, and we'll get your thoughts. But first, the fourth down decision, because the Steelers left points on the table. I thought as soon as Kyle Hamilton committed that defensive pass interference on Pat Freiermuth, I was like, that's a great penalty to take because it forces the Steelers to make a decision here. They're probably not going to take 3 points, but it guarantees they don't score a touchdown on that play. I thought the Steelers would maybe still take the points. It's so hindsight, but I just generally blanket statement. I think before the half, you take the 3 on fourth down, like near the goal line, because you lose the advantage. Part of the analytics of like why to go for it on fourth downs and things like that is if you don't get it, you set them up in terrible field position. You have a chance to get the ball back and score again. You don't have that before the half. So I didn't love it. I think there's something to how many times are you going to be down here, especially a whole half with Kyle Hamilton. Like the defense looked a lot different. What do you think about that, Shayne? And then we'll get your thoughts overarching on this game. But that fourth down decision before the end of the first half, which ultimately became moot, but felt huge in the moment.
I think when you're on the 1 yard line, you go for it no matter the circumstance you're currently in. That's how I view it. I think that it's too high percentage of a play for most teams.
Yeah.
For you not to go get a yard and score a touchdown in a game where you've scored 3 points at that point. Taking the 3 is really nice if you're down by 3 or if you have no points, especially, or if the other team isn't scoring points, you want to put pressure on them to score points. But if you're on the 1 yard line, I'm sorry, like if you're a real NFL team, if you can't get a yard on the goal line, then you don't deserve to score points anyway, in my opinion. So,
and it kind of looked like the Steelers weren't a real NFL team with that play call.
Yeah,
like
that's the worst play call imaginable. And this is the thing that's gotten me a little bit is overall, especially in comparison to previous years, Mike Tomlin is more aggressive this year on fourth down. right?
Mhm.
I would say he's still like half as aggressive as most good coaches are, but he's aggressive enough where I'm like, okay, I can see that he's not just blanketly being like, no, I'm punting the
Mhm.
football here. I don't care what the numbers say. It's not quite that. But it almost like I almost wish he was as like conservative as he normally is, because the play calls they've gotten on fourth down this year are the worst in the league by a mile. Like, it's not even close to any other team in terms of how poor they perform in that metric. Like, and you could sit here and like throw. I don't know what the numbers overall on fourth down are off the top of my head. All I know
Mhm.
is the play calls are the worst I've ever seen consistently. When it's not just them doing the what I like to call the Nepo push with Connor Hayward in there. Like, no offense to Connor, but like it's just funny.
That's a pretty good name for it.
Especially put Cam in there now too. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. I love that. That's actually awesome. I have no notes on that one.
I honestly
Why
think
didn't
the
you do that?
reason, not to jump you, but like the reason they went and did it on the 4th and very long in their own territory. It was like 4th and 1, but it was like the longest
Yeah,
one
it's
I've
the one
ever
where it's like
seen.
it's not 2 because it's not a full 2, but it's as close to 2
But
as
it's
you can
like,
get.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically 2.
Yeah.
I felt like they were just itching to break that out, right? Like they knew Collinsworth was gonna eat it up, and Tomlin was like, "We just gotta do it. We got
Gotta
Cam
do
in
it.
there instead of Darnell, and like this is gonna be great." And that one, like Connor almost like jumped into Cam's arms for him to like move forward. They did it much better the other times, but
They
he actually
did.
came off the line of scrimmage. That was a funny play, but yes, they should have gone to that on the goal line. Like anything other than giving Kenneth Gainwell the ball like at the 6-yard line because you're pitching it back so far. Like you don't have
Don't
numbers
go
to
back
that. Terrible
fourth
play.
down, dude. Just don't ever start from behind the line on
Yeah.
fourth down. Just don't. Unless it's like one of those like cool little like trick things where you sort of run backwards to get around the edge like they did with Connor last week. Like outside of those types of ones where I'm like, I can
Mhm.
understand that one because it's meant to be a trick. Like
Yes.
you're not tricking anyone by tossing the ball out to Kenneth Gainwell with 2
No.
guys there and one person to block for him. Like that's not a trick. That's just bad. So yeah, I understand why you feel the way you do about it. Like I understand the reasoning of it. I just refuse to like not take advantage of having 1 yard to get a touchdown in any situation. Like I want to do that every time.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot easier now to in the moment I was conflicted about it. I think it's a lot
Mhm.
easier now after you see, oh, it was bombs away in the second half. Like the Steelers really put up a lot of points. Well, that was without Kyle Hamilton. You don't know that that's going to happen. That they
It
really
certainly would
didn't
not
move
have
the ball.
happened with with Kyle.
Yeah, like they really didn't move the ball in the first
Sorry,
half at
but
all.
yeah.
So one thing I wanted to bring up about this game is I kind of talked about the parallels, the differences between the playoff game last year and this game, right? Like they just didn't get dump trucked. And the
Mhm.
Ravens are not as good as they were last year. The Steelers are probably marginally better. But man, I thought the defensive line was really good. And I thought Cam Hayward was the best player on the field like this entire game. He was unreal.
Absolutely. He still is, in my opinion, especially this year. And like obviously we've lost Aaron Donald to retirement and Chris
Mhm.
Jones has had a down year as the rest of the Chiefs have had a down year. I would not take any other interior defensive lineman in the league right now over Cam Hayward if I needed somebody to play a game for me. That's just
Yeah.
and when you're saying that about a guy who, oh no, he's making $15 million this year.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's a whole other conversation. But like you're talking about a dude who's making half as much as the top of the market realistically, with Chris Jones
Yeah.
leading that charge. A guy who's 37 years old. That's just not normal,
No.
right? Like he's not normal. And I think that a lot of Steelers fans who I know there's chatter about him all the time, and a lot of it sometimes is negative because, oh no, he has a podcast and he wanted some more money. God forbid he plays
Yeah.
the sport. Like it, I really want them, especially, to appreciate what they're seeing this year
Yeah.
because
And
it's not
last
going to
year
be
too.
forever. Yeah, last year, of course, too. That's why he wants more money and why he wanted
Yeah.
to have what he got this offseason. Like, I just want them to appreciate it while it's still here because I know we keeps seeming like it's never going to end, but eventually it will.
It
And
has to.
yeah, you have to try to appreciate it while you can.
But I mean, it's like him and Calais Campbell were ageless wonders
Yeah,
on the interior,
yeah,
and Cam is another level than Campbell. Campbell's
right.
obviously
Especially at this
older.
point. Yeah,
Yeah, but like I to you come into this game, TJ's a big question mark. You don't have DK. Like a lot of your difference makers you don't feel awesome about.
yeah.
And we didn't talk about it on the preview of like who needs to have a big game. But if you think about it that way, like Cam's got to have a big game in this one. Like he's got to. It's like Cam or Highsmith, who's been really good and I thought was pretty good again tonight. And he just comes through at every big moment like this. And I thought it was awesome because it's the game you think that like TJ's going to have because he's like the generational guy. And he had the interception. I thought that was really fun. But Cam was just wrecking shop the entire night. And it was so much fun. I don't even have much more analysis other than it was so fun. And it was really meaningful because they didn't shut down Henry.
Nope.
But they slowed him up after the first half when he was running wild.
Yeah, they
part of that is possessing the ball.
Right, for sure. But they allowed a couple big plays from Henry, but it was not this consistent, like there's nothing they can do about it. It was more of like couple big runs sprinkled in, but it was a lot of 0, 1, 2, 3-yard runs that weren't keeping the Ravens on schedule the way they wanted to be. And unfortunately for them, they also let up three of the easiest touchdowns Lamar Jackson will ever throw in his life, at least in terms of how wide open the player is. That certainly was an issue, and we'll talk about that a little bit, I'm sure, as well. But overall, like the defense in the running game and like against the rushing attack specifically, outside of those couple of big plays, not really much you can complain about.
Well, let's just talk about it now because winning this game doesn't wash away everything. Like, doesn't wash away the Zay Flowers running wide open touchdown that could have been the nail in the coffin of your season.
Which one?
Like, yeah. Maybe I'm washing away the first one because, like, yes, it's bad to have Patrick Queen running one-on-one with Zay Flowers in the middle of the field, but the play worked. Like, it was a pressure look that got Highsmith as a free runner. If you tackle Lamar Jackson, like, the play's over and that never happened. So I have a hard time being like, oh, there the Steelers are again, like just leaving.
No, that one was a consequence of what you call, and you could yell at them for calling that defense, but again, it worked. It just didn't because it's Lamar Jackson, and sometimes it just doesn't work when it's Lamar Jackson. That's just kind of the reality of playing a freak, right? Like that's the same thing with Henry. Like you can do everything right, and sometimes he's just better than you. Yeah, and you kind of have to live with it, right? Like, kind of is what it is.
And to the running game, like it didn't keep them on schedule as much as they wanted to. It felt like the Ravens were just like, let's do the Packers thing again. Remember last week when it was so fun when Derrick Henry ran for 200 whatever yards?
Free touchdowns.
Let's do exactly that again.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. And then they were like, I guess our 2-time MVP is going to have to make some plays.
Oh, no. What are we going to do?
And then at some point I was like, I let my Yinzer come out and I was like, I kind of think Lamar just ain't about it in this rivalry. Like I just like had a moment right before that it was literally one play before the Zay Flowers.
It was looking that way.
And I was like, I just don't know if he has it. And then he had it. They should have. It's so hard to be like coming into this game. The whole game plan has to be just run it with Henry. Maybe they should have opened it up a little earlier than they did.
Maybe, but like realistically, it was going perfectly fine until
it was working.
But then when they did start trying to throw the ball, it was like a lot of easier stuff to try to take advantage of, just run after catch, and they just weren't getting it. They weren't having that happen. So like, I think overall, like if you're the Ravens, obviously the biggest problem is that you have a rookie kicker, and rookie kickers often stink. No offense to Tyler Loop, he's been pretty good for them this year. It's never awesome as a team when your season comes down to even a reasonable kick from a rookie kicker. It just doesn't always go your way, and it didn't in this game. And I have to say the Steelers got very, very lucky because that Isaiah Likely play, I tweeted this. I didn't tweet it. Sorry, I put it in a Twitter group chat that I'm in. TJ Watt 2 years ago makes that play before Lamar gets the ball down the field to Likely. If you watch that play back.
Oh, he beat
Watt 2 years ago hits him before the ball comes out and the game's over right there. So the fact that they still won is kind of funny because I think if this game was just played 2 years earlier than this, it would have ended anyway for a different reason. So, but it's a tough look if you're the Ravens.
Yeah. And it's just, I kind of, part of the open was like, it's a pretty cursed season for the Ravens. Like,
Yeah.
The Steelers won, and like eventually we have to pivot to they have a playoff game in 8 days,
Whoa.
and what is that gonna look like?
Mm.
It was a pretty cursed season. I also don't think they're a particularly good team. Like they have no pass rush. The offense is really clunky, really boom or bust. Like, are the Steelers now a good team because they won the AFC North?
No. Unfortunately, no. This team
agree.
is not good. When I say they're not good, here's the problem. You could make the argument that this team, as currently constructed and playing the way they did tonight with DK Metcalf, is a solid playoff team, right? You could make that argument. I would tell you that I don't know anything about this team in terms of a playoff team because they did this to the Ravens, whom they always do this to. I don't know what you take away from this game other than look at all the random crap that happened in the last 5 minutes of the game. Do you think that's going to happen against the Texans? Probably not. On either end of it, the good and the bad of it, probably not going to happen. So what do you glean from this? Probably that the Ravens need to clean house in a lot of ways, and that the Steelers are going to not do that because they were making the playoffs. So the Ravens might end up coming out on top in this overall, which is a whole other conversation that I know no one wants to talk about right now because I'm supposed to be happy about the win. I don't know. I don't know if I feel much of anything about it at this moment.
Yeah, I have a hard time with it because I agree. Like coming into today, I was like, man, it would be terrible if the Steelers lost this game, blew the division, everything. It would be worse if they won.
That's the problem. Is I feel like both of these teams were in a lose-lose position because if you're the Ravens, if you somehow come back from a 1-5 deficit and you win this division, you get your quarterback healthy, and let's say they beat the Texans, right? Because they probably
totally
like a healthy version of this Ravens team could at least maybe beat the Texans, right? I wouldn't pick them to do it because again, they have no pass rush, and they're playing a team that if you're going to beat them, you need to beat them by sacking the quarterback because their offense isn't very good. So that would have been a problem. But let's say they beat them. Harbaugh is not going anywhere. And they should extend Lamar just because it's Lamar, but like that's going to happen also. So those two are going to be tied together again. And what do you really do once like Derrick Henry eventually isn't Derrick Henry anymore? Like that becomes a problem for the offense. The offensive line is, let's just say, not so good, and that showed a lot in this game. You're kind of in a hard position to try to change much of this team in a positive way, like immediately, and you don't want to not try to be as good as you can because you have Lamar Jackson, the quarterback, right? Like you don't want to take a year off in the middle of what could be the last 5 or 6 years of when he's at his best, realistically.
Especially when he's a unique quarterback that is probably not going to age the best. Like I think we don't even have
it just depends on like how they want to build it out. But like the point is you don't want to take a year or two to like completely reset this team when he's in the middle of his prime still. Like that's not something you want to do if you're the Ravens at this point.
So then, as Sergio Patsy in the chat, nobody hates the Steelers more than these two mofos.
Yeah.
I love the Steelers from a like long term. I want them to win a Super Bowl. This is not acceptable. Be running on this treadmill of mediocrity. Like I think it's more. I think it's more of a disservice to just sign up for it every year.
Yeah,
and they need 35 minutes in. We have to spin this forward to the game next week.
Yeah,
they need to, if not win, look like they belong in that game, or I am like so done with this team right now because then they're not going to move on from Tomlin after making the playoffs. For all of Mike Florio's, he has and Peter Schrager's, he has a TV job lined up. Like this is the flip side of everything we just said with the Ravens. The Steelers aren't going to change a lot. And brother, I think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. So you better put up a good showing. And in fairness, I think down the stretch of this season has shown me a lot of growth from the coaching staff to like figure things out defensively. It's shown me a lot of like Derek Harmon is probably a stud, and that's really meaningful going forward. Their offensive line is getting a lot better. I think Dylan Cook's just an answer. Like
at least for the short term. Yeah.
Yeah, at least you don't have to like spend another first round pick on an offensive tackle.
I hope
pay
not.
up.
Not the year to do it anyway, from what I've
No.
heard. So anyway, yeah.
And so I'm a little bit more in on like maybe you add some receivers and it looks a little bit better, but you've got to show something next week. And I don't know if they can. Do you?
So before I even get into that, just more from Sergio Patsy here. Yeah, bro, every time I turn you two on, you're on the team. Listen, at the end of the day, I want the Steelers to win. I do. The problem is when we know how the organization operates, we know what this win actually means. Most like realistically, is that they're going to go to Houston, or not? Sorry, not going. Houston's going to come to Pittsburgh, and they're probably going to kick our teeth in. And when that happens, because if you look at the last 10 years of playoff games under Tomlin,
it's 10 years now.
They get their teeth kicked in when they make it to the playoffs. Not just like, oh, we lost by like a field goal and we almost had it, or oh, like we had a shot. They lose, and they lose big. It is never close when they are in the playoffs the last decade. I don't know the last time they played a game in the playoffs that wasn't a double-digit deficit at the end. I'm pretty sure it was more than a decade ago.
The Steelers are 0-5 in their last 5 trips to the playoffs.
Yep, one and done.
And their wins before that, right, are what? Alex Smith, Matt Moore,
yep,
and AJ McCarron.
Yep, those are the last 3 quarterbacks they defeated in the playoffs, yeah.
So if you don't win this game, I still move on from Mike Tomlin. I know they won't.
Yeah, they won't.
And it's not, we don't have to have that conversation because we've had it a million times.
Yeah.
If you don't win that playoff game and beat a real quarterback and a real defense, like the Texans look like a legit Super Bowl threat. That defense is terrifying. That pass rush, we're going to find out about Dylan Cook. I just said Dylan Cook might be the answer. We're going to find out with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter and everything they have on that pass rush. If you just lay down, roll over again, like you did against Cleveland, like you did against Baltimore, like you did against Kansas City, like you did against Buffalo, then what are we doing? So great, you won tonight. It took a missed field goal. It took a slip. It took a slip from Chidobe Awuzie. Yeah. It took a lot of stuff.
At home
against an injured Lamar Jackson. He can say whatever. He's never been 100% this season.
No, he hasn't. Not since like week 1.
And so you have to win next week, or else I'm just not. And Sergio brings up a great point. We got to give Sergio credit here because we're kind of going back and forth with my guy Sergio in the chat. And I know you had the other comment pulled up. Yeah. What's the Steelers record on Monday night at home?
How many of those do you get? How many of those do you get a year, though, Sergio?
You get one in the playoffs this week. You said when we talked on Wednesday, if the Steelers got every game on Monday Night Football,
we'd have
something. They got a game on Monday Night Football.
I do think it's obviously a little bit different in the playoffs too, because like you're also playing the Texans, who pretty good team.
Yeah, not the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I think the issue is, and this is a good point right here again with Sergio. Here, he keeps going. I'd rather be in it every year, no matter the circumstances. If we have multiple losing seasons in a row, or even 3 and 5 years with no playoff wins, they would fire the next guy. Here's the thing: they're not in it every year. They pretend like they're in it every year because they're always technically in playoff contention or in the playoffs, but that's only really a facade. Yeah. At least if you look at the results of this team over the past decade, no matter how competitive they look or feel or act like they are, the result has always been the same. There's never been a result other than failure in the first round of the playoffs. Doesn't matter when they were 12-4.
And spectacular failure.
That's the other thing. Like, that's my point. Is it's not just failure. It's we never had a shot from the first snap of the game on. It was over. That's been the playoffs for the Steelers for the past decade. If you are okay with that, as a Steelers fan, I don't really have any argument for you then, because if that's what you're okay with, then you're okay with it. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. I'm going to tell you that you shouldn't be, in my opinion, because this is the Steelers, right? If we were another team, if we were the Jets, the Jets, if they had 20 consecutive winning seasons, Jets fans would be a lot less sad than they are. They might still also be frustrated if they were also having no playoff success for the past decade, but they already don't have no playoff success for the past decade. They're also bad. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that as a Steelers fan that you should feel bad for me or for other Steelers fans for being in the position we're in. There's a lot worse positions to be in, but it doesn't mean we can't hope for more and expect more out of an organization that has 6 Super Bowl titles and hasn't played for one in well over a decade, largely because of the issues that the coach currently has and has not given us any reason to think that he can fix.
Let's have the good faith conversation, because I think we both agree this team has no shot in the playoffs.
I agree with that.
We also have to acknowledge that the AFC playoffs this year do not have Patrick Mahomes, do not have Lamar Jackson, do not have Joe Burrow. And that's a situation where it feels pretty wide open. It's Bo Nix is the 1 seed. I mean, we just saying quarterbacks like that. Like, is great defense, but Bo Nix is the 1 seed. Like, Drake May's never played a playoff game. Justin Herbert, and behind that offensive line, which is the worst offensive line in the NFL, like Trevor Lawrence, you're going to trust Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs. I mean, I am, because I think he's awesome. But narrative street, walk down narrative street.
Better. Let me put it this way: Trevor Lawrence has more playoff wins than the Steelers do in the last 5 years. So there's that.
But walk down narrative street with me.
Mm-hmm.
It is more wide open than it's been in a very long time in the AFC.
Yeah.
So just like I'll phrase it this way. What needs to happen for the Steelers to not only win against Houston, but to like make a little noise in this field?
They would have to play one of the better defensive games that they've played in the past 5 years. Because I don't trust this offense to score more than 14 points against the Texans. Like, if you get 2 touchdowns on this team, that's a huge win. If you score 14 points on this Texans defense with our current infrastructure on offense, that's a win. The problem is, can you keep them under 14 points? And I guess the answer to that is maybe. We have the front 7 to do it theoretically. Really the front 4. You get the point. The pass rush. We have the pass rush to give this team problems. They have a young and/or inexperienced and/or not good offensive line in general. They're beatable on that side of the ball. The problem is they don't have to do a whole lot to win games, and they haven't had to really since they started this massive win streak that they're currently on, because the defense is that good for the Texans. Like, that is the defense that should be the highest paid defense in the NFL, unlike ours is. And again, I don't want to take anything away from what the defense has been able to accomplish in recent weeks, and especially like the Cleveland game, keeping us in it despite the offense trying its hardest to keep us out of it. Like, I don't want to take anything away from them. But they're going to have to go blow for blow with that defense, and I simply don't think they have the horses to do it.
And I think you're going to have to get 2 turnovers, at least.
Probably. Yeah.
Like, it's going to be a Mike Tomlin win the turnover battle by margin.
Which he hasn't been able to do in the playoffs. That's the thing. Is people will sit here and say, like, well, they do it all the time. Like, when people say it's fluky that he does that, it's not. It's like,
just hit the turnover button.
Right. Just hit the turnover. Like, it works in the regular season more often than it has any right to. I will give him that. But it hasn't worked in the playoffs yet. At least not in the last decade. And I don't know if I'm going to do it. It's going to work against this team. So.
And even when it did against the Chiefs in that playoff game and TJ Watt gets the touchdown.
I mean, well, that doesn't count.
How did that game go?
It's the Chiefs.
Okay,
come on.
But my example they did get the break, and they just weren't even close to being on the same playing field as a real Super Bowl contender. And in my opinion, they're playing a real Super Bowl contender. My question was going to be, like, specifically in this game, we saw it bombs away late. We talked about it a little bit. Like, some of it's just Lamar brilliance. But did we start to see the cracks in your living in base with a lot of Malik Harrison snaps? Malik Harrison snaps on the game-winning drive when you know they have to throw. Like, what are you doing? Are we seeing the cracks in that because the trade-off, right? Like, that's the big conversation this year. Why Seattle's the best defense in the NFL. They can stop the run out of nickel because they have big nickels who can really tackle. The Steelers have to go to base to do it, and they've done a lot of really cool and interesting stuff out of base. But the problem with it is you got a lot of big bodies on the field and you're susceptible to big plays. Are we seeing the cracks with that? Because that's what a lot of the Ravens offense was, the Tez Walker touchdown, all the Zay Flowers plays in the second half. Like, are we seeing the cracks?
I think with the Tez Walker one, it was pretty clear that Jalen was expecting the ball to come out quickly because of the blitz, and it just didn't, and you got caught.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really blame him too much for that, or just the defense for that too much, because again, if you want to say don't blitz there, sure, but like, I don't know, like what do you want me to tell
you?
They did.
So,
they did, and then obviously the Zay one, the first Zay one, again, kind of the same thing. You sent a blitz, it didn't get home. You have Patrick Queen running down the field, Zay Flowers. That's going to be an L 10 times out of 10, except for the one time that Zay drops it / fumbles it before he gets to the end zone for some reason. Yeah. And then the last one, that was just coverage bust. Not sure what happened with that one. I don't know if that has anything to do with necessarily playing base or if they just were bad on that snap and let it happen. You don't see that very often in the NFL. Let me put it that way. I don't expect that to necessarily happen again against the Texans, who, again, their offense it's questionable at times for a lot of reasons. So I'm not going to really say that it's going to happen again. Now, I will say I am curious to see how much base they actually go to against the Texans, because they don't be running the ball that well, generally speaking. I'm not really worried. No offense to Woody Marks. Cool little, rookie. Good for him.
Yeah.
And the husk of Nick Chubb, if he's even still getting touches, I'm not sure at this point. But I'm just not very scared of that. I don't think you have to play base much against them other than like when it's obvious. So I do wonder if you get more nickel out of them and just more DBs on the field this game, because you're going to need it against this bevy of receivers that the Texans deploy. But if they do go base heavy, I'm not going to be shocked if that hurts them at times in that game. So,
especially the way CJ Stroud plays, the way Nico Collins and Jaden Higgins, who's now just a Nico Collins clone, and deep crossers and digs and play action over the middle. Like, CJ Stroud is so good at that stuff. And I that's where you're susceptible when you're bringing a lot of bodies to the line of scrimmage. I think their linebackers, the Steelers linebackers, do a really bad job getting depth in their drops and coverage. That's why a lot of throws get behind them. I think that's an idea I came up with. I'm the only one thinking that. Like, it's just glaringly obvious how bad
that happened at least once. So, yeah, I just, again, like, I think that the whole base defense thing, like, it's been interesting, like you said, to see them do, and I think it's been mostly successful. Yeah. But you do have to hope that, like, they're going to look at this matchup and go, like, yeah, we should probably be ready to guard any of the, like, 5 receivers that they're willing to throw the ball to at any given time. Also, Dalton Schultz is just kind of hanging around out there sometimes. That I don't love, because, linebackers are probably going to cover him a lot, and that's not good probably. Yeah. So that's the hope, is that they're going to be willing to go to more dime and nickel and just trying to get more guys on the field who can actually cover someone, which means taking, unfortunately, linebackers and just everyone else off the field pretty much, except for the couple cover players they actually have. But it's just hard to say. I think it just depends on what they prioritize, right? Because we know they're going to prioritize defending the run, but does that mean they think they have to play base, or are they going to say, well, we should be good enough in our nickel against this running game to not have to do that? So that means you do see more of, Peyton Wilson and maybe Nick Herbig as a stand-up rusher, like we saw in the one sack he had in this game, like stuff like that. Like, that would be great. Am I banking on that? Not really.
Unfortunately. This defense has morphed so many times this year, and it's mostly been out of necessity, either injury or just like it's been bad and they had the wrong game plan. But credit to like the coaching staff for doing it and figuring out an answer. I think part of the base thing too is those are just our better players, right? Like, generally speaking, we would rather have more edges and linemen on the field than more Asante Samuel snaps. And
which sucks because like James Pierre is for some reason like the best corner on this team outside of, I guess, Joey recently, especially. But like, it's funny that that's the case. Like, I do think that the part of the problem too is, like, I don't know how good I think Jalen Ramsey is at this point, because like I know the touchdown today was like kind of like, all right, like every safety in the league almost is probably going to be in that position if that's the play call, right? Like it's not very many guys who are going to be able to like deal with that. But it is what it is. We have a friend joining us back from the game, right, Mark?
Oh my God.
I'm sure you can hear really good right now.
Freezing and ran back from the game is pretty much, I made the mistake of telling Josh and Shayne that I'd try and be back, close to 30 minutes after the game
I knew
ended.
you wouldn't be. I
did. I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that's on me.
I don't live near the stadium anymore, but I wasn't too far away.
Here's the thing. I don't go to too many games. But I live, in the city. So I was like, oh, maybe this will happen. I guess I should have known better given, Steelers Ravens and, the possibility of a missed field goal to, I don't know, send us all into chaos and pandemonium. So I'm here though. Thank you guys for holding it down. Sorry for,
Absolutely. Thrilled you could go to the game because I'm so interested in your perspective of like, that felt like a big game. I mean, obviously it is a big
It was
game.
a moment. It was a moment. It was a big deal.
Yeah. The Steelers have been, I don't know. I feel like fans this year have gotten a little apathetic at the idea of like, oh, we're doing this again. We're just going to like squeak by, whatever. Maybe that's me projecting onto a lot of people, but I feel like there have been Fire Tomlin chants. So obviously that's true.
I think it's fair.
It felt like the fan base was like really juiced up. Was it an awesome environment down there?
So when I went, when, I was even tailgating, I had the same thought that you did. I was like, this could get ugly real fast. Like that's kind of what I thought. But like the game was kind of too close and too, just that, there was too much motivation there for it. It just never really got to that point. There were some boos, late in the first quarter, early in the second quarter. The Steelers offense was kind of sputtering a little bit, but like, I didn't hear any Fire Tomlin. I didn't hear any, I mean, Renegade was full force.
Renegade's
which was nice to see. I mean, this is, fast forward to, me taking the T for those of y'all.
Wonderful public transportation we have.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pittsburgh public transit for those
really
not familiar. I took the T back to my car and then I drove home. But when I was on the T, a surprising kind of I guess conversation I had was just with a random Steelers fan, and he was like, this is the craziest it's been all year, like from the home opener to now. This was the moment. He was like, he said he hadn't heard a "Here we go Steelers" chant all year, and he's a season ticket holder. Now I don't. Now I don't. I'm not a season. I am not a season ticket holder. He could be completely wrong there. I don't want to, put that on fans, but it seems like it's been a pretty pessimistic fan base all year long, and I don't really blame them for that. But this could serve as kind of like a jumping off point, even if it's this isn't a Super Bowl team. I think we all know that, and we can talk about that ad nauseum. But this was nice. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was needed. I don't know. It was unexpected, frankly. Given the secondary issues in the second half, did not really see this one coming. So we'll take it. But absolutely wild atmosphere, I will say.
It was the first time, and just being at home, it was the first time I really got animated this season. I mean, obviously it's the biggest game of the season, right? Like we're stating the obvious, but it did feel fun again. Cause I do doom walk into every single Steelers game of, this team, I'm so sick of this team. You guys know this, but
We're all
I
a
had
little sick
fun.
of the Steelers.
Can you believe it? I had fun watching the Steelers. I'm glad it was fun down there.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was yeah, I mean, I was high-fiving people. Like it was just like it was the exact opposite environment that I expected when I went. I went thinking it would be one way or the other, like a Pittsburgh sports moment that I'd want to be at. Like that's part of why I messaged you guys like, hey, like I have a chance to go to this game. I think it could be, good for us to at least have a presence there.
Yeah.
I thought it, internally, I thought it might, kind of turn negative, but I pleasantly surprised it did not. But it was definitely one of those moments that I'm glad I was at. Yeah, like this is one of those that I don't think we'll forget for a while.
Yeah, I think it goes. This game goes into. If this team is not going to do anything bigger, and I don't know that it's going to, this game goes into the lexicon of this rivalry. And like, that's meaningful to me. I think it's meaningful to I think of it in terms of the NFL and most American sports just have like one championship, and we get very into like rings culture and stuff. And this is a point to like what Sergio was saying in the chat more, like we are very single-minded. You have to win a Super Bowl. And there is something meaningful. There still has to be something meaningful about competing in this type of game, sweeping your rival in a year to keep them out of the playoffs. Like that matters. And it's like English football. They have the FA Cup and they have the Champions. They have all these different things. Winning your division is the closest that the NFL has to that. And while that's stupid and overrated because we only focus on who wins the Super Bowl at the end of the year, the Steelers won their first division since 2020 in a division. Yes, both these players got hurt, but with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, when both those teams look like they're at kind of a weird breaking point with their coaching staff and their quarterback, I don't know. That feels good.
I think this is something I think I should say because I think it kind of gets lost when we're talking about it sometimes. The reason why I have a hard time being happy about this game and winning this game is not because I didn't want them to win it. It's because I know that even though there's reasons to, if they lose next week especially, there's reasons that the front office and that the ownership should want there to be change here, that they should want to still move on from everyone that's causing some of the problems they have. I know that they're not going to now. If I had faith that the ownership could look at this objectively and say, I know we won the division, I know we made the playoffs, but we have had the same issues for a decade now of not being able to get it done in the playoffs. It just doesn't matter anymore that we win 10 or 9 games every year. It just doesn't matter anymore. If I believed that was going to happen, then I would have no problem with this game. I'd be like, this is awesome. We won the AFC North. Awesome. Cool. Knocked the Ravens out of the playoffs. But I know in the back of my head, and that's why when they missed the field goal, I'm like, that's hilarious. And then I immediately started just working on stuff and then getting ready to hop on with you. But it's because I'm like, yeah, it matters, but in the long-term future of this team, it probably is more of a detriment than anything else, and that's what sucks about it. I wish that wasn't the case, but I know that in the back of my head that it probably is how it's going to play out. So that's ultimately kind of, unfortunately, the perspective that I had with it.
Yeah, I did not really think that, we're like the result of the game, I don't think would have, really changed the Steelers' mind in terms of changes that had to be made, I guess.
I think it might have changed Mike's, though. That's the thing that we kept hearing leading up to this game. Yeah, and Aaron's like, do they want to keep doing this if this is what it's going to be? Now that you win the AFC North, though, they're going to be riding high. No one's going to be able to talk to either one of them about anything until after next week, especially if it goes the way I think it will. Then you can definitely say stuff about them. But for the time being, what are you going to say to either of those guys right now? Like, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Other than you're lucky that the rookie kicker did rookie kicker stuff. Other than that, like, what else are you going to say to them?
And that you didn't get burned for burning all of your timeouts because you couldn't call a play on the goal line.
What was
that? So Boswell shocked me, but
what in the world?
So did Rodgers burning 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
Like,
I know the communication.
I know that I'm
call a play. You're
sorry if you guys have talked about this already, but
no, we actually really haven't.
We haven't. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. I want your opinion on everything.
Yeah, you were there.
Throw everything at me.
It's just like, oh my God, he got booed on 3 separate occasions for calling those timeouts too, and like people around me are just going like, did he really just call our first second half timeout? And then they did it again with did he really just call our second half timeout? And they said the same thing, and I was like, yes, he called our last timeout. Like this is a problem. They lucked out in the fact that
hard.
The kicker missed that kick, because like that would have been a good time for them to use some of those timeouts to save clock. I was fully certain that this game was going to end as a nightmare, and I figured I'd come on this pod and we would be talking about the future and what we should be doing and all that stuff. But pleasantly surprised. I freaked out when he missed the field goal. I didn't. I mean, I'm sure y'all did the same. Like, what in the world, man? Like, that is one of the worst missed kicks I have seen ever. Probably ever.
It gave me.
It's up there, right? Like,
it gave me of the I can't remember his name right now, but the kicker for the Ravens. He missed a shanked one, I think, or maybe beating the Patriots in the playoffs like a decade ago now or something like that. I cannot remember his name, but they had another miss like that too, but it was in the playoffs against the Patriots. I cannot remember the kicker's name, but it was not good. That again, rookie kickers. I don't know.
Not a thing.
This is a good.
Not a thing to rub in the face of an organization,
guys.
But would have been nice to have Justin Tucker.
Yeah, it would have been really nice. He was just too busy.
I mean, that's not the Ravens' fault. Like, that's Justin Tucker just, being an alleged creep.
Yeah.
I've got
jokes I feel like I'm not allowed to.
He's right. This is right. This guy's right. Billy Cundiff was the one I'm thinking of. He missed the kick for the Ravens in the playoffs. Anyway, yeah, rough stuff for Tyler Luke. Yeah. Hope the best for him, honestly. I hate when kickers like immediately get like thrown out. So we'll see.
Yeah. So, Mark, your opinion on this game, like, things obviously opened up for the Steelers offense in the second half when Kyle Hamilton goes out.
Mm-hmm.
What were you, I mean, you're the only one that got to see the all 22, right? Like, we're watching TV copy. What were you seeing? Like, did things really change, structurally for them, or did it feel like things were just more open and easier for the Steelers in the second half? Because that's what happened. But was it that noticeable being there?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for me it was notable that for most of the first half, I and the person I went with, we were talking about like, why isn't the run game like more of an important part of this offense? And that's simplistic. I realize that. But like it's also true once they started getting Jaylen Warren more involved, specifically Gainwell in the passing game. It really opened things up. So for me, that's just kind of where it came from. It was just, using like your best weapons, considering DK Metcalf is not available to you. Please, use Jaylen Warren, use Kenneth Gainwell. Like, I was very pleased by the
that's team MVP Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, right. Team MVP Kenneth Gainwell, but like, yes, they had the one over the top to Thielen, and they had the Calvin Austin play that won them the game, but those things are not set up without the run games, succeeding in the second half. And that to me was the biggest difference, was that the Ravens, I started looking for the, how the Ravens were going to adjust their safeties, especially after Hamilton went out. It was like, are they going to kind of pivot more to a single high? Are they still going to use two back? Because I know that they had been pivoting to like a lot of zone looks in the last few weeks, and obviously Kyle Hamilton is such a huge part of this defense that when he goes out, it's like, how do we adjust? So yeah, they when they went to 2 safeties back, at least from my vantage point, the Steelers either ran the ball or Rodgers pivoted to a lot of running plays. Now this could be totally disproven by the all 22, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but
I think
it did seem like they
pivoted
more there. Yeah, so they checked more running plays when the Ravens had 2 safeties back, which is exactly what they had to do, really. And yeah, like one injury or one big player out can make all the difference there. So I don't know.
There's a world where they lose this game, and while it wasn't necessarily the offense's fault, you can nitpick. You come out of it going, 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 47 times in a win or go home game. That's a indefensible game plan.
Yeah.
So much of that was their run game. Like, it was just still run game stuff. It was just swings and screens and Gainwell and Warren. And I thought Warren, team MVP Kenny G, I thought Warren ran the hell out of the ball today.
Yeah. He was great.
He's been great down the stretch. Like Detroit, he was great. He's just been a good player for a while.
Every time he wasn't getting the ball, I was just furious. I was like, this does not make any sense to me. I understand that, the Ravens did at times switch to a pretty heavy box. So like, obviously you have to account for that. But like it's just he was running with a purpose tonight, and they did not give him enough carries, especially in the first half. It was, the first half was kind of a mess with play calling. I mean, do we even want to get into the the last play of the first half? Because I don't know if y'all have talked about that.
We talked about a little bit.
We talked about that, but it was just terrible play call, right?
Yeah. I feel like we don't need to
But okay, we disagreed on this though, so you're the deciding vote. Should they have kicked the field goal or should they have gone for it?
So I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say if you are going to go for it, you need to call a much better play than that.
The better way to think about it.
Correct.
I did not like what they did when they decided to go for it. But if you're going to call that play, Shayne, sorry to interrupt, but if you're going to call that play, then I'd much rather kick it. And yes, that's kind of like, revisionist history. I understand. But I don't like just like this like one-on-one on the outside with it was a
botched whatever that was.
It's a terrible play call. It was a terrible play call. That was my issue.
But that's terrible play call. That's the thing though, Mark, is like I think what Josh wants to know is if you're in control, right?
Yes.
You get to
not
decide,
going to make that play call.
Yeah, like you get to decide whether you go for it, and you get to decide what the play call is to something like maybe not obviously the exact play call, but like you're like, all right, in general,
you get to veto that play call.
Yeah. Like
so I can veto that play call.
Yeah, you're either going for it or you're not, but you're not getting a bad play call. Like you have a play on that you like. Are you going to take the chance to get 7, or are you going to take your 3 and go home? Basically.
No. I'm going to go. Given the situation, I'm going to go. From my vantage point, it was tough to tell. Were they on the 1.5 or
it's the half? Because it was a pass interference end zone, so it's right on the 1 should be.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yes. I agreed with the decision to go for it. I thought it was honestly kind of nice from Tomlin. It was kind of surprising from him. I mean, he's done that a few times in the last few weeks where he's kind of taking me off guard. Yeah, and I feel like sadly it's been going poorly. So now we're gonna have a big playoff situation where he's gonna like kick.
He's gonna punt on 4th and 2 at the 37.
Something stupid in the postseason now because we've been like because these situations have gone poorly for him. But like I was a fan of the call to go for it. I was not a fan of what the actual call was. Like that weird. Was it a play action to the fullback and then
it was just I think it was just a toss. Yeah, straight toss.
It was just the motion.
It was tough to tell
because
it
was
the opposite end zone for me, so it was tough to tell. But it did not look really, it just never looked like it.
Oh, it never had a chance at any point.
No, it never was
complete. It was botched from the second he snapped it. It was
so
bad.
that was horrible. But I don't want to detract from a great win. So sorry for
Oh no, we've done enough detracting.
That was
you're fine. You're not.
That was
even
brutal, man. That was brutal.
Yeah.
I was like, man, like I don't want to say fire Tomlin. This isn't why I came here, but like this is as close as I'm gonna get. And I know this isn't even his fault, but I was like, this is as close.
It's just
this is as close as I'm gonna get.
It's like Arthur Smith is like saving his worst plays for fourth down or something.
Yeah,
it's like he runs out of good plays during the game, and he's like, I don't have any of my good plays, so I guess I have to just pick one of these for fourth down because I wasn't ready. Or like he didn't do enough preparing for these situations because he kind of just assumed that Tomlin was never going to go for it in situations. He's like, oh crap, what do I do on fourth down? A fade ball to Scotty Miller? I got it.
A tush push. A tush push would have been a better play call there.
Yeah, the Nepo push. You got to throw that out there.
And I'm not saying that the tush push would have worked, but I am saying it was a better option than whatever they did.
It probably would have worked on the 1 yard line.
Yeah,
it would have been close. Probably. Would have been much closer than whatever that weird toss play was into the ether. Like,
so we've talked a lot about different things in this game. I don't know that I've ever asked you really, Shayne, like.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel Aaron Rodgers played?
Oh, you didn't ask me about this one. I think outside of a couple moments where there was some big, I don't want to be out here right now energy going on, right? There was a couple of those, like when he was running and then he kind of was just like, oh crap, there's football being played around me, and then like fell on the ground. Like other than that one and a few throws where it was like, all right, man, like you clearly like probably could have extended the play here, but you're like, nope, I don't like that there's people around, and threw the ball away. Like, which is what you get when you decide to pay and then have a 42-year-old quarterback. I understand this, right? But outside of that, I thought he was as good as he could be given the circumstances. Like I think clearly, and this is you could argue that this is his own fault, but like the receivers he's chosen to have around him and that the Steelers have chosen to surround him with clearly are bad for the most part. Like, so
you could argue that.
Like it's kind of
argue that.
I mean, again, PFF rankings are not by any means like law, but you saw those flash across the screen and it wasn't awesome to see. Just going to throw that out there. And you also decide to use Pat Freiermuth only as much as you possibly can, like as little as you possibly can while still using him enough. I still can't figure that one out. At least in this game, it was like more than 3 times they threw the ball to him. It just kind of felt like everything was harder than it needed to be, but also maybe was kind of by design, which is the problem. So like, yeah, maybe when DK comes back next week, a lot of that will be alleviated again, like it was for those couple games. But at the same time, like this is still a very old man playing quarterback for the Steelers. And sometimes it's just going to kind of bite you.
Mark, what was your assessment?
So I didn't realize he threw 47 times until y'all.
It sneaks up on you, you know.
So like, many of those are like screens and swings and like run game stuff. But yeah,
nonetheless, that is a lot.
More than you want.
Well, yeah. I prefer him around 30 if I'm being completely honest.
Maybe 23.
Yeah, I feel like I think he so it's funny to watch the Steelers offense in motion because like
you could just stop the sentence there because that'd be like
if I don't always watch the all 22. I see things on social often and it just it just makes me laugh a little bit. But when I was talking to people like around me in the section, and I was like, just watch this play and see how the receivers, just watch their routes.
Yeah.
The entire first half, literally just like up, out, up, out, up, out, pretty continuously. And finally late in the first half, they started going to Freiermuth up the middle a little bit. But like it's like their offense I don't like to oversimplify it when it's like, oh, like they just ignore the middle of the field, like, oh my God, because like I see that all over the local media, and I feel like it's not telling the full story sometimes, but it kind of is. Also, they do literally. I'm not saying they should throw to the middle of the field more often all the time, but I am saying that their offense is structured in a way, especially their passing offense, where they literally just don't have receivers or tight ends running up the middle. I would say 3 out of 4 downs.
Yeah,
most series, and I know that's all the downs, Shayne. I understand. But I am saying that, like, when I watched it, it's just funny because it's like, even like their tight ends will start on the inside and they'll just pivot out, or it's just fun to watch when you know what the complaints are from the fan base. And like I see it, and it's like literally, it's just everyone's going outside, and I'm just like, well, I guess I understand where these complaints are coming from.
Mike Tomlin treats the middle of the field like it's like some sort of ancient tar pit.
Yeah,
and I can't
scared of it.
out, and I can't figure out why a coach who his whole mantra is like the fact
don't
that
live in our fears.
If we don't live in our fears, he's the most afraid man of the middle of the field in the history of the sport. And it doesn't make any sense to me because, like, if anyone should know that that's where the defense can be got sometimes in the NFL, you think it would be him. He watches his linebackers just give up the middle of the field 40 times a game. You'd think he'd be like, you know what? Maybe we should be doing this. Maybe we should start running routes in the middle of the field. And then, like, he also treats Pat Freiermuth like he's like got limited uses, like it's some sort of like special card he got in like Madden Ultimate Team, and you can only play him like so many times before he runs out of juice. And I'm like, that dude is getting paid a lot of money to play for you, right? Like, you're allowed to use him whenever you want. It's not like this. There's no limit on it. Just do it when it works. I don't know what to tell you.
We talked a lot about like Kyle Hamilton going out, just like opens up so many things. I don't think we mentioned, which is probably very important. It also probably prompted Mike Tomlin to take the restrictor plate off the offense, because we know if there's Jesse Bates on the other side, if there's name your safety, Kevin Byard, name your safety that has a couple interceptions this season or the season before. Mike Tomlin says, nope, not the middle of the field today, boys. And once Kyle Hamilton goes out, I really do think that like actually changes things for Tomlin. And there was a conversation on the sideline of like, all right, we can hit the middle of the field now, boys. Like I think that's real.
I think you're right, but also like, part of the problem
why does it take that?
Yeah, well, not only does it not does it take that, but like they don't play that is really good in the middle of the field, but they act like every team is good at defense. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, I think you're still correct to sense a team like the Ravens who have Kyle Hamilton, who basically is standing there because his arms are like Joey Porter level long as shit, and it's impossible to throw around him or towards him because he can grab. I say about Joey Porter Jr. all the time, and it's one of my favorite things I say. The player is he looks like somebody. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like he could grab me by the shoulder from the opposite room with how long his arms are. That's how Kyle Hamilton is too. He just takes up a lot of space in especially like in the middle of the field when he's out there. So that makes sense against the Ravens. But when you're playing not the Ravens, basically, why do you have to act like it's so scary over there, man? It's really not that scary. Like it's just not.
Yeah. I mean, I need to dive into the all 22 on this one.
It'll be fun to watch.
I will, mainly because there was one play that made me take a few plays off because it was like it just made me roll my eyes like all the way back into my head. And they basically had Thielen and MVS on the outside. They had tight ends. It was like a third down, which they probably weren't going to get regardless of how they ran those routes. But it was like their wideouts ran digs pretty much at the first down marker, and their tight ends both ran outside. And it was like a Madden play that like I would run if I were like, playing against. It's just like like the most predictable thing for any defensive coordinator to face. And it made me a little upset, guys. I wasn't.
Maybe that's why Awuzie bit so hard on Calvin Austin's double move on the game winner. Like he just saw so many comebacks. He saw so many
there's always a
he can't possibly.
Good for you, Josh. Good for you, Josh. Being positive.
I found the positive spin. Look at me.
I
growth.
like that.
That's growth.
Good for you. That is growth. Here I am. My 10-7 preseason prediction. Just saying.
That's exactly what I was going to circle back to, because you picked 10-7 and the Steelers won a playoff game. I predicted 9-8 and the Steelers do not. Yeah, where are you on that? The Steelers host the Houston Texans on Monday night. How do you feel about that proposition?
So I will say out of the teams that they could have faced, which all of them I don't feel great about. Mm-hmm. I really don't. And I don't feel great about the Texans either. Like, you could make an argument that, like, the Chargers or the Jags or, anyone could have been a better opponent. I think the Bills would destroy us. So I'm happy that it's not the Bills, just based on how our defense looked in this game. I think that's at least going to be close-ish. And I'm okay with that. And if they do get destroyed by CJ Stroud and the Texans offense, then I do think it kind of leads to that same conversation that we're kind of talking about right now, that they maybe avoided. Because like the Texans are known for their defense, and the Steelers should be known for their defense, but they're not. So I don't think they're going to be the Texans. I think the Texans win this game probably, like, I don't know, 17-13 or something stupid. But do I think they have a shot? Sure. I think the Vegas has a 3.5 point line on it, I think, right now. I'd say that's not incredibly far off. Texans are favored in that, as they should be, because they're a very good team. But I don't feel great about my prediction. But I feel fine about the matchup, because really any matchup was going to be bad for the Steelers. The Steelers are not a very good football team. I don't, again, not trying to, this was a great win, but like, the Steelers are not a AFC, they're not a Super Bowl contender. The Texans could be, if they go on a run here. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL. I'm sure Shayne can probably outline that better than I can, but from what I've seen, the Texans are, ridiculous defensively, and God, how are we going to score on them, Shayne? Please give me some hope.
No, I'm just gonna say no, but no, I'm just kidding. I think you need to rely on the backs again, especially in the passing game, because I think the secondary in particular is just so difficult to play against with Stingley and Lassiter on the outside. Like, it's just very difficult to play. I think Metcalf coming back will at least give one of those guys someone they have to.
It's gotta help, right?
Yeah, like it will help, but I don't think Metcalf is going to have a lot of room to do anything.
No. Is
kind of my point. So it's still going to fall on other players. They should be more freed up than they would be without him, obviously, right? But I don't know if you guys saw my face earlier. I was listening to you guys. I saw this in the division, the NFL division Slack channel for FanSided, which is a great place for that. Yeah. Oh no. Mike Tomlin on if Baltimore made the game-winning kick. You know how it is. If my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle. And there it is.
There he is.
And he said it.
Doesn't know how to.
He said it with the slickest, most sly little grin on his face. And that dude's getting a 7-year contract extension tomorrow. That's, you know what?
No. I disagree. Well,
you can disagree, but
he will.
He is inevitable.
Well, they're going to opt into his contract.
He'll be coaching
in March.
2 years, and then
That I agree with. That I think is going to happen, but that is
Of course he said that.
He does know that he just bought himself more time, which is infuriating.
Well, even then, I think he would have it still would have come down to him to be like, you know what, man, maybe I shouldn't do this.
The fact that one game has that kind of power, though, too, like, to me,
that's what I always,
part of the problem.
That's such a college football thing, too, of like, if we had beaten our rival, then we keep the coach. If we lose this last game, then we'll fire him.
He's Ryan Day coaching Michigan or something.
It shouldn't.
It's so
it shouldn't
stupid.
come down to that. Like, that's just bad process, right?
Yeah.
But
the Steelers
everything
bad
about
process.
Yeah,
no,
like everything about what the Steelers have done over the past few years has been bad process. So we shouldn't be surprised about that. Yeah, we'll have a lot more we have a week to break down, a week and then some to break down the Steelers and the Texans on Monday Night Football. We'll be back for that instant reaction. Of course, we'll have shows this week. I'll have a show tomorrow. Maybe we can even do a preview on Monday. Who knows? We'll talk about it and we'll let everyone know on social media. Any last thoughts before we close this out at 1:07 a.m. and Mark still needs to, warm up from his cold night out at Acrisure Stadium.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was going to say, this is one that we should take some time to take in. Like, I understand the pessimism around this team. I really do. I don't, if they lose to the Texans, it'll just rebound and we'll be talking about a lot of the same stuff that we have been for weeks. But we knocked a rival out of the postseason today. This is something that I think we just need to digest and appreciate. That this doesn't happen every day. Frankly, you don't really get a chance at this very often. And the fans that I was with today, that I got to spend time with, I feel like they kind of needed it. And frankly, we deserve, as fans, we deserve more of it. And we can get into that when or if the Steelers lose eventually. But we deserve this. That's my end statement. We just deserve this.
You know what? You're right, Mark. You're right. We deserve it. But will we get it past this week? I don't know.
But we deserve it.
Yeah.
I personally will be trying to make sure the Steelers win next week. How I'm going to do it, I don't know. But
I'll give my heart and soul.
Yeah, I will think about this fondly.
But I think that's a great point. And it's another year of Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, not winning a Super Bowl. And I like when the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl. That's awesome. And so today was a lot of fun. I'm glad you had a lot of fun down there.
Yeah. This should be the norm. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. It's not, but it should be. And if it's not, we should be asking questions about why it's not the norm.
I'd be asking questions.
That's where I'm at. On the pod, we're always asking questions.
We stay asking questions here on the Still Curtain podcast. And I think that's a great place to leave it. Hour and a half into it. Thank you so much for everyone hanging out so late into the night. The Steelers are AFC North champions. The Steelers have another game to play. They're hosting a playoff game on Monday night. And won't that be fun? We'll be here with you for it. So like and subscribe to the podcast. And also check out everything on stillcurtain.com. That's where you can find Shayne's writing. And on fansided.com, where you can find all of Mark's writing in the week leading up. You can also check out my writing, but it'll be about college sports. So maybe won't be your top of mind interest. So long, everyone. Thank you so much. And as always, go Steelers.
Uh-oh.
Wonderful.
Did this